Hello and welcome back to Big Bear Automations. It's day 16. We are stripping back all of my knowledge, and if you don't know what this is, we are learning n8n in a year or a year worth of videos. I might start sending out 3 or 4 at a time because otherwise we'll be here all year. If you don't know what this is, I'll put a link on the video for day 1. I highly recommend going back and starting from day 1 because you'll get yourself hosted up, you'll get webhooks, you'll get all sorts. So go back and watch them all and work your way through and get to where we are now. Today we are talking about the wait node and when to use it, when not to use it, is it good, what the functionality is, etc. So wait nodes are very useful if you've got things like, for example, a workflow that fires off emails too fast, or you need to wait for an API call to avoid rate limits, which is very common. And that's what we're looking at today. So by the end of this video, we should know how to add strategic pauses to our workflow, set our waits in seconds, minutes, and custom timeframes, use waits for real world scenarios like follow-up sequences, combine waits with cron triggers to space out reminders, handle long delay waits properly, and when's the best time to use the wait. So let's jump in. We're going to start off with the basics, which we've got in front of you. Very simple test, trigger, send an email, and then we're going to follow up with that email with a wait. So in the wait node, we have 3 things. Resume after, the wait time, which you hover over here is the time to wait, and what unit that wait is in. So for this example, it'd be 5 seconds. Wait until a specific date and time. So we've got these options here. So we've got after time interval, which is what we set manually at a specific time. So maybe 11 a.m. tomorrow or whatever. On a webhook call, so waits for the webhook call before continuing, and on form submitted, which waits for a form submission before continuing. So we're going to look at the top 2 for now. So after time interval. So quite self-explanatory. You put how much you want in here. So say I wanted 10 seconds, that would wait 10 seconds. If I wanted 10 minutes, that would wait 10 minutes. If I wanted 10 hours, that would wait 10 hours. If I wanted 10 days, it would wait 10 days. Quite simple, quite very easy to understand. At a specific time. So if I wanted it tomorrow, which is the 6th, at 11 a.m., I could set that time to trigger that. So maybe there's a communication that needs to go out at that time. So you can actually get this quite granular, right? We can have it as seconds, which is really good, especially on rate limits. Give you an example, Monday.com have this thing called complexity, and if you hit the complexity, they send a request header that's like, oh my god, something's wrong, and then you have to wait 60 seconds. You can just do it like this, or they send something back in their request that's like, request header, this is how long it's going to take. We could use that, put it in here as an expression to say how many seconds it is going to be. And if that header exists, go down the wait route. If it doesn't, carry on down the API route. That was a bit too complex, I suppose, from what we're going through, but it's a real world example. So on webhook call, so no authentication because we've gone through this on the webhook call stuff. Webhook URL will be generated at runtime. It can be referenced with the execution resume URL variable sent somewhere before getting to this node. As soon as this node executes, again, same as the webhook stuff, limit wait time. So limit how long it's going to take. Limit type, which is sets the condition for execution to resume, can be a specified date or after some time. Again, what you want, the amount in seconds, units, etc. On form submission, so this form will be generated at runtime. So again, test. We have gone through form triggers, and it's the same sort of thing. You can't see the form, but the form has popped up. And if I was to submit it, form submitted, it goes through the wait. So you're waiting for that form to be submitted. Sorry, you can't see it's a window capture, but there was a form that popped up that looked like test. But you get the idea, right? You're waiting for that submission. What I normally use it for is after time. That's probably the most common use case. Because I would just have a webhook that would capture a webhook submission, and I would just have a form trigger for a form submission. But for me, after time interval is the most used version of the wait in my case. So let's do an example. I have had a user come in and they've signed up for my website, right? And my website is an AI website that's going to give them the opportunity to create pictures about bears, because that's what everyone wants. This would be a form submission, so wait, and then send a welcome to Big Bear's AI creation software. Go and have a look around. And then I would wait for 15 minutes, 20 minutes, let's say 20. And after 20 minutes, I then want to send another email to the same user. So with the same user, saying here is the how-to guide, and then you could have a HTML that we've done in the set node stuff that you can have a look at in the other days, but it could be just be like a HTML that's a link to the how-to guide, and it's just nurturing that relationship with your new customer. So that's an example of how you would use a wait node, or how I would. So again, we can change the interval, right? You can have it for an hour, 30 seconds, 10 minutes, whatever you want to do. And again, you can do another one. So if after an hour, you're like, let's catch up. After 5 hours, how are you getting on? After 24 hours, how are you getting on? Blah, blah, blah. Now, I probably wouldn't do that because I'm not a fan of having these things waiting, just for performance more than anything. I'd probably just have another webhook that triggers every 24 hours for new people from a spreadsheet. But you're getting the gist of what we can do with it. So another way to trigger this is having a cron trigger. Now, we know the cron trigger. We've gone through it. There's a video about it. So we know that it schedules the workflow at certain times, and times that we've set. So what we could do is have a cron trigger that runs every Monday morning. It sends a weekly team update to the rest of the team. So let's say every day. Where am I? 8 a.m. every week on Mondays. This workflow is going to trigger, right? That workflow is going to send an email to the team that has a overview of what we've done, how far we've done, how many story points, etc. we've worked on, And then we're going to put a wait in, and that wait will wait for 3 days. And it's going to send up a follow-up reminder to the rest of the team to be like, this is how far we've come since then, etc. So you can start building out these workflows that are like communication workflows. Obviously, these are all emails and examples of emails, but you can use wait to do anything. So if you wanted to wait for rate limits, is probably the most common reason why I'd use a wait. Again, it would just be an API call on the other side that you're waiting for. We can do cool stuff as well. So for example, that example with Monday. So say this was the Monday node, and we passed an if node in. We could then say if the ID is equal to error. These are just examples, but this would be request header exists. You know what? I'm going to change it so it makes sense. Request header exists. So again, there'll be a header that comes from Monday. There you go. It comes from Monday, and it tells you that you've gone over your rate limit with a request header that tells you how many seconds there are. I would then go, okay, well, if that header exists, wait here, pass in the amount of time that's sent in the request header, maybe plus 1 second, just to make sure, and then carry on the route to Monday, and just keep doing that. That's another good example of rate limit handling. So we're going on to long waits now, because they can cause problems. And again, you can delay this up for like 30 days or whatever you want to do it. And I just don't think that's a good idea, just because long running workflows consume memory, execution timeouts, and reliability. So what happens if this self-hosted server drops? I mean, it's 99% chance that it's up, but there is that 1%. So what if it falls over and there's delays happening? So for delays longer than a few hours, I would either really think about why you're doing it, to really make sure that, yes, okay, I do need it for this amount of hours. However, if it's over an hour, over a few hours, or it's going into a day delays, I'd look at storing information into a spreadsheet or a database, and then calling that database with a cron trigger to call it every 3 hours or whatever you wanted to do that delay was. You could even have the database to have the timestamp so that you could check the timestamp, and if the timestamp is 3 hours after, or is closer to 3 hours after now, or whatever you want it to be, you could run it like that instead of having these waiting for ages and ages and ages and clogging up your executions. So here's another example. So if I'm processing 100 records and the API allows 30 requests per minute, I'd add a 2-second delay between each API call, and this prevents hitting the rate limits and keeping everything running smoothly. So if you know there's a rate limit, so before you hit it, you can handle it with the waits. So just adding that 2-second delay in, you'd always be able to hit the API. You'd never ever hit the rate limit. So manual executions like this, for example, often skip the wait node. And now I don't know whether that's just me or n8n themselves that have decided to do that, because no one wants to wait 20 minutes. It'll probably just be like, oh, it will wait 20 minutes. So just check as well when you put it into production that it is actually waiting. It's not just skipping it, because I have had it where it doesn't. So just be mindful of that. Another one is remember your time zones. So if you wanted to wait for an hour and then your time zones are out, then obviously your time zone settings will affect when that hour triggers. So just make sure that if you're doing it for a client, you're in their time zone, and if you're doing it for yourself, you're in your own time zone. So just keep a lookout for that. So key takeaways from this video is you know when to use your time-based pauses. You know when you should be checking that if it's over a certain amount of time, is there a better, more performant, efficient solution? If you are doing long delays and complex conditions, just remember, could there be a better way? Is there a nicer solution for us to get through? Always account for API rate limits. This is what this is for. So make sure that if there's a rate limit on what you're trying to call, use your wait the time that's specific for your API. Hopefully you won't come into it too much, and we are getting away from rate limits these days, but it is worth it just to be mindful of rate limits. And make sure you test with real triggers as well as your manual execution, because of the wait skipping that I've had. Now, some people might not have experienced it, but I definitely have. So just want to look out for. And that's it for today. That's your wait nodes and when to use it, what times you can do on it, what it looks like, and how we can get it into a simple workflow. If you can, hit that like button, please, subscribe, comment, get involved. If you have a cool workflow that you want to build, we can jump on and build it together. We can jump on, you can send me what you want and I can build it via a video. It'd be really cool to start getting the community up and running. And look forward to day 17 already tomorrow. Crazy. Cheers, guys. Thank you all for your support.